Today I will be talking about Grand Canyon National Park. First, I will be covering a challenge the park faces. I will look at the impact of building the Glen Canyon Dam and the effects caused by the dam on the Colorado River in Grand Canyon National Park, and also the creation of Lake Powell. Then I will look at the geological makeup of Grand Canyon National Park. Grand Canyon National Park is located in northwestern Arizona. The park is outlined in green. Notice how in the upper right corner is Lake Powell. Glen Canyon Dam is located on the south side of Lake Powell. You can also see how the Colorado River flows through the park. This picture has the same boundaries as the last picture, but it shows more of the geological features of the park. Lake Powell is still located in the upper right-hand corner near Page, Arizona. This picture also allows you to see the Colorado River in greater detail as it flows through the park. Congress approved Glen Canyon Dam to be built in 1956. By 1963, the dam was completed. 17 years later, in 1980, Lake Powell finally finished filling up. Glen Canyon Dam stands 710 feet tall and is only 16 feet shorter than Hoover Dam. A key point to notice in this picture is how the water is a turquoise green above the dam and very blue below the dam. This is an important factor, and we will touch on this later. Lake Powell is the second largest lake in the United States used for water supply. It is 186 miles long, and its deepest point reaches 558 feet deep. Glen Canyon Dam is located near the bottom left corner where it says Lake Powell, near Page, Arizona. So how does Glen Canyon Dam and the creation of Lake Powell impact the Colorado River in Grand Canyon National Park? There are a few positive and negative impacts. We will look at the positive effects, which are electricity, economic and recreation, and water storage. Then we will look at the negative effects, which include sediment in the river, water changes, and the impact on fish species. Glen Canyon Dam produces electricity using hydroelectricity. A benefit to hydroelectricity is that the power it creates is clean. It just needs the moving water from the dam to create the energy. Hydroelectric power also has low failure rates and low operating costs. But one downside to hydroelectric power is that the energy it makes cannot be stored for future use. Glen Canyon Dam produces 4.5 billion kilowatt hours per year, which is equivalent to burning 2.5 million tons of coal or 11 million barrels of oil. There are 8 generators that create power inside Glen Canyon Dam, and they are pictured here. Glen Canyon Dam and Lake Powell have a great impact on the local and regional economies. Over 2.5 million people visit the Lake Powell-Glen Canyon Dam area each year, generating over $400 million to the area economy. There are many activities to do in the Lake Powell area, like rafting, sailboating, fishing, renting houseboats or regular boats, kayaking, water skiing, and much, much more. Lake Powell is used as a water reserve that provides water to 7 states in the southwestern part of the United States. Lake Powell plays a crucial role for these states, especially during drought seasons. It can hold 26,215,000 acre-feet of water at full capacity, which is about 8.5 trillion gallons. About 40 million people rely on this water for crops, drinking water, and flood control for those below the dam. 85% of the water from Lake Powell is used for agricultural reasons, and about 25% of U.S. crops are watered by the water from the Colorado River and Lake Powell. We are now switching over to the negative effects caused by Glen Canyon Dam. Before Glen Canyon Dam was built, the Colorado River would flood every spring and occasionally times after. Approximately 60 million tons of sand would be washed in with the floods each year, creating sandbars along the banks of the river. Now that the dam is built, it cuts off 94% of the sand sediment from flowing down the river because it settles into Lake Powell. Scientists realized the lack of sediment was causing the sandbars to be washed away. They have attempted artificial floods by opening the dam wide open to try to bring back the sediment to the riverbanks. These floods do bring back sediment during the flood, but soon after they stop it, the sandbars are quickly washed away once again because of the controlled flow of the dam. Glen Canyon Dam is drastically changing the riverbanks in Grand Canyon National Park. Before the dam was built, the Colorado River would run as a warm, reddish, muddy-looking water through the Grand Canyon. The temperature of the river would vary throughout the year from freezing to about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, since the dam was built, the river below the dam runs much colder at an average of 46 degrees year-round. The water has become clear and appears turquoise above the dam and blue below the dam, which indicates major environmental changes. In the pictures, you can also notice the sandbars on the banks I just talked about. The picture on the left was taken in 1906, well before the Glen Canyon Dam. The picture on the right is a recent picture that shows how those once sandy shores have changed and washed away. The colder water in the river has taken an impact on the fish that live in it. 5 native fish of the Colorado River are on the endangered species list. A few of the species are only found in the Colorado River basin. One species in particular that is endangered is the humpback chub, which is pictured right. Colorado River in the Grand Canyon is only one of 6 locations the humpback chub survives. Native fish are struggling with colder temps of the river, while non-native fish are thriving. Specifically, trout thrive in the cold Colorado River. Trout are moving in and they are natural predators to the native fish. From 2001 to 2008, there was an increase in the temperature of the river, and there was a noticeable difference in the native fish population. They started to see an increase in the native fish and a decrease in the non-native fish. This shows how the changing water temperatures impacts these fish species. I will now move on to the geology of Grand Canyon National Park. I will highlight the rock layers in the park and their formation, how the park was uplifted, and the erosion caused by the Colorado River. There are many layers of rocks in Grand Canyon National Park. I will discuss the layers of rocks starting at the bottom with the oldest rocks. The oldest rock in the park is the Elves Chasm Gneiss Rock. It is about 1,840 million years old. The Elves Chasm Gneiss Rock is a small part of the Precambrian basement rocks. The Precambrian basement rocks, or Vishnu basement rocks, are the rocks at the bottom of the canyon. They are 1,750 to 1,700 million years old and were created when a volcanic island converged with another tectonic plate. These rocks were pushed down about 13 miles below the surface of the Earth because of the convergence. It took around 400 million years for the Precambrian basement rocks to push up the 13 miles to reach the surface, but as soon as they reached the surface, shallow seas came in and covered the area. As the seas came in, they brought in sediment, and this later turned into a new rock formation called the Grand Canyon Supergroup. The Grand Canyon Supergroup was formed about 1,200 to 740 million years ago. During the formation of the rock, the area experienced a lot of faulting and erosion, causing the rock to be tilted slightly. The next layer of rock is the Tonto Group. The Tonto Group was formed about 525 to 505 million years ago. And like the Grand Canyon Supergroup, it was brought in by the sea. The sediment brought in with the Tonto Group flattened the previously uneven surface of the Grand Canyon Supergroup. The Tonto Group is made of a Moave limestone, Bright Angel shale, and Tapeat sandstone. The next layer of rock was also brought in by the sea and is called the Temple Butte Formation. This formation was formed about 385 million years ago. After the Temple Butte is the Red Wall Limestone Formation. The Red Wall Limestone was formed 340 million years ago. It is made of a soft rock, so caves were easily formed by the seas in this rock due to the erosion. Next is the Surprise Canyon Formation. This rock layer contains a lot of fossils, mostly of plants, and formed 320 million years ago. About 315 to 280 million years ago, the Supai Group and Hermit Formation were formed by the sea, and for the first time, by a new creator, the wind. Next is the Coconino sandstone layer, which formed 275 million years ago. During this time, the area was a desert and it frequently had sandstorms and created sand dunes. This layer is known as the bathtub ring because of its wide, distinctive tan-colored ring around the canyon. The last layer of the canyon is the Kaibab Formation. This layer was created 270 million years ago and is made of a very hard and resistant rock. Because the layer is hard, it has been very slow to erode. Now, I've been throwing a lot of numbers around, so to put it in perspective of how old the Grand Canyon really is, the last layer of the canyon was formed before the dinosaurs roamed the earth. In this picture, you can see some of the previously mentioned layers of the Grand Canyon. A fun fact about the Grand Canyon is it averages about 10 miles wide and about 1 mile deep. As I mentioned before, most of the layers of the Grand Canyon were created by the sea at sea level. So how do these layers of rock reach elevations as high as 9,000 feet? Scientists are not completely sure. They have two theories about how the Colorado Plateau lifted so flatly. The first theory is a shallow subduction theory. Scientists think when the two plates subducted together, they did not subduct at the usual angle, but instead at a longer and shallower angle and at a faster rate, which caused the plateau to rise evenly. The other theory is the continued uplift by isostasy theory. Scientists believe that the Colorado Plateau uplifted after the plates were done subducting because of the built-up pressure releasing due to the subduction. I think what makes Grand Canyon National Park such a sight to see is the Colorado River's erosion cutting through the ancient rocks. The Colorado River has been eroding the Grand Canyon for 5 to 6 million years, a fraction of the time the layers of rocks have existed. The Colorado River has cut about a mile deep into the canyon because of the steep slope it has. The river descends about 2,000 feet over its 277-mile trek. The river also has a lot of water volume cutting through the canyon. The water flows at an average of 12,000 to 15,000 cubic feet per second, and it can reach up to 300,000 cubic feet per second during a flood. I think because of the erosion, Grand Canyon National Park is an awesome place to see the history of its geology.